I.S.U.P.K.
So tell me, how can I turn the other cheek while this wicked world trying to smother me? Something gotta shake, I'm gonna cry it out. Time to gird up my loins and ride out. In my soul, I feel devastation. In my eyes, I see desolation. On my door, death is waiting. But I don't want to see no more desolation. I don't want to see.
Care about everybody. It means it's time for us as blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians to start giving a damn about one another. What do I mean by that? Black man, it's time to start loving the black woman again. Latino man, it's time to start loving the Latino woman, man. Native Indian man, it's time to love the Native Indian woman. And let me explain something to you. We love one another here in the I.S.U.P.K. Let me tell you a story. I'm not sure if you saw this on the news. In the news, right, this past week, down in the Rio Grande, our Haitian brothers and sisters of the tribe of Levi, guess what? They came over here to the shores of America. They came over here to Texas, to Del Rio. And what happened? They treated them the same way they treat the Mexican man and woman. Why? Because the Haitians are the so-called Levites, and the Mexicans are the so-called Israelites, God's chosen people. And what did the white man do to our Haitian brothers and sisters? What did he do? It was like a page out of a history book, right, sis? We got flashbacks from that. Were they not out there with whips and horses, whipping God's chosen people, man? Our Haitian brothers and sisters, and denied them from coming into this country. The white man is the devil that the Bible speaks of. But Barakatah Yahweh Yahweh Shah for the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge under Commanding General Yohanna. Because this past week, we went to Acuna, Mexico, because the Border Patrol would not let us through to go feed our brothers and sisters of the tribe of Levi. So you know what we did? We went down there to Mexico, and then we went under the bridge and fed thousands of our brothers and sisters of the tribe of Levi. Was your pastor out there? Was your imam out there? Was your fake Israelite groups out there masquerading in purple? No, but the priests and prophets under Commanding General Yohanna fed God's chosen people, man. And it goes to show you too. And another thing that I love, man, I love the brotherhood that our Mexican brothers and sisters showed to our Haitian brothers and sisters. When the Border Patrol was chasing them with the whips, our Mexican brothers and sisters of the tribe of I.S.U.P.K, man, would hide our Haitian brothers and sisters from the oppressor. Because the oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of. And it goes to show you that it doesn't matter if you're black from America, black from Haiti, black from the Dominican Republic, black from Puerto Rico, black from Mexico, black is a condition. If you are on this 12 tribes chart, they don't give a damn about us. You saw what they did to the Afghanistanis. Let me know. Am I just speaking to dead air? Let me know. Did the Arabs not come over here and get met with nice Airbnbs and nice food? They were. But what about the Haitian? What about the Mexican? What about us, black man, Latino man and woman here in Philadelphia suffering? It goes to show you that the oppressor does not give a damn about God's chosen people, man. Because he's the devil that the Bible speaks of, man. El hombre blanco es el diablo. They did that. Whips on the backs of our Haitian brothers and sisters, man. I was like, well, goddamn, Nabai, what year is it? But it doesn't matter what year it is, because the oppressor hates us. And that's why God told us to be separate unto him, man. God severed us from these other nations. Read Leviticus 20 and 26 again from the top.
God, this is the book of Leviticus, chapter 20 and verse 26. And he should be holy unto me.
Holy meaning separate. We should be holy, meaning to be separate. It's called the Holy Bible, meaning it's called the separate Bible, because this ain't for everybody. This is only for blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Read on.
For I, the Lord, am holy.
For I, the Lord, am holy, meaning God is separate, man. Read on.
And I have severed you from other people.
And have what?
Severed you from other people.
Let this noise pass. Why did God sever us from other people? Why? Why did God sever blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians? Why? Because God loved us. What does it mean to sever? If I sever your arm from your body, brother, it's no longer attached. Meaning God saw us mingling around with these other nations and said, you know what? I'm going to make that black man, that Latino man, and that Native Indian man and woman separate. I'm going to sever them from other people. And for good reason. And for good reason. Because these people show us each and every day that they hate us. How do they show us? Look what they did to our Haitian and Mexican brothers and sisters. Look what they did. All the pictures, man, it was horrifying. To see our brothers and sisters of the tribe of Levi, the so-called Haitian, trying to cross the Rio Grande with their children, with their elderly. And what were they met with? They were met with horses and whips and AR-15s, man. But what were the Arabs met with? The Arabs were met with peace. The Arabs were met with peace, sister. They brought them in here, gave them nice food, gave them a place to stay. You know you're going to see more trucks like this out here in our neighborhoods, right? You know you're going to see more trucks. And you know if you're $1 short, guess what? You're not going to get that lamb and rice. You're not going to get that chicken over rice. Because they don't give a damn about us, man. It's time for us as blacks and Latinos to give a damn about each other, man. It's time for us to come together. Because the scriptures say that. In Zephaniah 2:1, God is telling all blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians to gather ourselves together. Because we're the nation that's not desired. How do you know that we're not desired? Our Haitian brothers and sisters are living under a bridge right now in Texas. And nobody fed them. Outside of the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, of course, we fed our brothers and sisters of the tribe of Levi, man. We feed and help our Mexican brothers and sisters. We feed and help our Native Indian brothers and sisters struggling on the reservation. Don't you see the connection that we all have? Don't you see it? We're in the ghetto. They're in the barrio, and our Native Indian brothers and sisters are on the reservation. That is real hell. We think hell is some underground that we go to when we die. Hell is North Philly. Hell is Southwest Philly. Hell is the barrio, the Badlands. Hell is the reservation that our Native Indian brothers and sisters have to live in. But you know what heaven is? Look around you in Center City, Philadelphia. I used to think these buildings were just, businesses. These are $1 million condos that the oppressor lives in. While me and you got to go back to Southwest. We got to go back to North and West Philly. Brother, did you grow up in one of these high $1 million sunrise buildings? Hell no. Hell no. We come from the slums and barrios and hells of Jamaica, of Trinidad and Tobago, and of Haiti, and the Isle of Hispaniola and the Dominican Republic. All we know as God's chosen people, as blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians, is hell. That is all we know. And guess what? All we have to do is this. Let me get Mark chapter 12 and verse 30. Because we act like the hardest thing in the world to do is to do what God said to do. We act like that is hard to do. They tell us in the Christian church that nobody can be perfect. Let me tell you, let me dispel the dogma off of that. You want to know what it really means to be perfect? It's to do what God said to do. Perfection can be achieved, man. Perfection can be obtained as Black, Latinos, and Native American Indians. And the problem is, as Black, Latinos, and Native American Indians, here's the issue. The hardest thing is to accept that we grow up in poverty, that we came up in hell. We would love to just believe that, all we got to do is pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. Ain't that what they told us when they dropped crack on in our neighborhoods? Did Nancy Reagan not go on TV and just say no? But what happens when the oppressors started getting hooked on drugs? Down there in K&A, they made sure they had all the drug rehabilitation centers. They helped their people, but what about God's chosen people? This is what we have to do. Perfection can be attained, black man, Latino man, Native Indian man and woman, and it's called doing what the Lord said to do. It's called keeping his laws, statutes, and commandments. As a matter of fact, the law hinges on these two commandments. If you can do these two things right here, guess what? The rest of the law will be a breeze. Read Mark chapter 12 and verse 30.
Mark chapter 12 and verse 29. Verse 29. And Jesus answered him, the first of all commandments is he, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord.
God said, and Jesus said, Salaki, our King Yahweh Shah Mashiach, the greatest man ever walked this earth, said that our God is one God. Meaning this, black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman, Christ said this, Shema Yasha Allah Yahweh Alahayanawa Yahweh Akkad. In the Hebrew, Christ said that our God is one God, black man, Latino man, First Nation man and woman. The problem is we want to worship other gods. The problem is we want to go and worship other nations. You worship the white man as a god. That's why we have this bastard right here. You have Caesar Borgia. That's why you got Allah, that's why you got Allah, the figment of the imagination of the Arabs, man. Allah does not exist. He's a comic book that comes out of the Quran, man, a real comic book. But the God of this Bible, Yahweh said that our God is one God, man. He's letting us know. And Christ is reiterating this. Jesus Christ is letting our people know that our God is one God, and this is what our God commanded us to do. Read on.
Verse 30. Thou shalt love thy Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, with all thy might.
With all thy heart. What is your heart? Your heart right here, all this does is pump blood. Your heart is your mind. Everything starts right here. You have to love the Most High God with all your mind, and with all thy soul, and with all thy spirit. Meaning you have to love God with everything in you. The problem is in the Christian church, we talk a good game. We talk about how we love God. Some of y'all sisters say that God in Christ is your husband. Understand this. If you really love God, you would do what God said to do. You would keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. You would not eat shrimp, crab, pork, and lobster. You would not hate your brother in your heart. You wouldn't sell drugs to your brother. You wouldn't be smoking weed and doing drugs, man. Read on.
With all thy strength. This is the first commandment.
This is the first commandment, to love the Most High God Yahweh with everything in your being. That's the first commandment. What is the second commandment?
And the second is like namely this.
And the second is like namely this. Read on.
Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
Thou shalt what?
Love thy neighbor as thyself.
Now, Christ said, thou shalt love thy neighbor. I know the Christian in you is saying, but isn't the oppressor our neighbor? Isn't the Asian and the Africans our neighbor? No, they are not. Your neighbor is your brother. And unlike the Christian church, I'm going to prove to you that your neighbor is your brother. Now, hold that. Let me get Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 17. I'm going to show you in the Bible who your neighbor is. Because we look at neighbor and thinking it's every other nation. Why you hate your brother? Which is asinine. You'll give your love to the same white man that put his knee on George Floyd's neck. The same devil that went up in Breonna Taylor's home and murdered her for just laying in her bed. You'll still give your same love to that same devil who murdered and raped and chopped up Vanessa Gillian, a Mexican sister of the tribe of Issachar. But you'll hate your brother that lives in the crib with you. You'll hate your husband. You'll hate your wife. You'll hate your children. God is saying, no, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, meaning love your brother. And I'm going to show you in the Bible that your neighbor is your brother. Read Leviticus 19 and verse 17.
Good job, baby.
Chapter
Good
19,
job.
verse 17. They shall hate thy brother. Thou shalt not hate thy brother.
Thou shalt what?
Not hate thy brother.
Thou should not hate thy brother. Meaning, black man, stop hating your brother. Stop hating that fellow black man. Stop hating that fellow Puerto Rican man and Mexican man and Guatemalan man. If you are on this 12 tribes chart, you are the nation of Israel. Blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Those are our brothers. The transatlantic slave trade did not affect Africans. It did not affect Arabs. They decided to take God's chosen people. When the conquistador and Cortez and them boys came over here in 1492, they took the Taino Indian. Who is the Taino Indian today? The so-called Puerto Rican man and woman, the Cuban man and woman, put them on cargo slave ships. They took the Native American Indian man and woman, put them on cargo slave ships, and took them to Spain. We fled into West Africa when Jerusalem fell in 41 AD under Titus and Pompey, man. And guess what? We went into captivity then. God's chosen people are blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians.
Right.
Thou shalt not hate thy brother, meaning love your brother. Love your fellow sister, man. We're in the same hell. Are we not in the same slums in North and Southwest and West Philadelphia? Black man, Latino man, and woman? Are we not on the same reservations, going through the same atrocities that the oppressor puts on all of our people? Thou shalt not hate thy brother. Read on.
In thy heart.
Meaning, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy mind. The problem is, in your head, you have already determined that that next brother is your enemy. And you got to stop that. You have to stop that. We have to stop looking at our Hispanic brothers and sisters that they're not our brothers. We have to stop looking at our Haitian brothers and sisters and acting like they're not our brothers. We have to stop looking at our West Indian brothers and sisters and Native Indian brothers and sisters like they're different. We're the same people. If you're on this 12 tribes chart, God loves you, man. We are the same race. Blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. From Judah all the way down to Issachar. Read on.
Thou shalt not in any way rebuke thy neighbor.
Thou shalt not in any wise rebuke thy neighbor. Now, understand this. Understand this. What does it mean, thou shalt not in any wise rebuke thy neighbor? Meaning, don't go out here wishing harm on your brother and your sister, man. We so quick. We are quick as blacks and Latinos and Native American Indians to condemn one another, man. To condemn your brother and condemn your sister, man. We gotta cut that out, man. Read on.
And not suffer sin upon him.
And suffering sin upon him, man. We have to stop wishing hateful things on our people, man. We have to stop wishing hate on our Latino brothers and sisters, our First Nation brothers and sisters, and our fellow black brothers and sisters, man. Read on. But here's the thing. The Lord said, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart, and thou shalt not in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, man. Meaning your neighbor is your brother. Read on. Read on.
Verse 18. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of the people.
He said what?
Thou shalt not avenge.
Thou shalt not avenge. Meaning this, I understand that there are black and Hispanic and Native American Indians, man. I understand as our people that we've had some brothers do some foul stuff to us, man. I understand that your brother may have wronged you. I understand that your sister may have done harm to you. But it's time to forgive your brother, man. It's time to forgive your sister. That's what we don't understand, man. We're too quick to avenge and have hate towards our own people, man. Brothers, learn to forgive your father for not being there. Forgive your mother. Forgive your brother. Forgive your sister, man. That's where it starts. How the hell do you expect? Let me ask y'all Christians a serious question. How the hell do you expect God and Christ to forgive you if you can't forgive your brother? How can't you? You can't forgive your father. You can't forgive your mother. You can't forgive your brother and your sister. And you expect Christ to forgive you? No. You're not supposed to avenge, man. You're not supposed to hold grudges against your people, man. You can't expect the Most High and Christ to forgive you of all the wickedness that we did if we can't learn to forgive one another. It's time to let these things go. I understand that we have some of our brothers and sisters that have done some hateful and wrong things to us. But the point is, we have to forgive them for that. Because we're in the same hell together. We're in the ghetto and the barrio and on the reservation together going through the same thing. Why not love one another? Love one another and forgive each other of our trespasses, man. That's what real brotherhood is. Real brotherhood is pulling that brother to the side that offended you and letting them know that he offended you, man. And you may gain your brother. And that sister offends you, sister, pull her to the side. Let her know her transgression between you and her alone. Don't go around telling everybody. The trespass that gets between you two is between y'all, man. Learn how to communicate, man. Learn to talk and forgive one another as blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians, man. It seems like that's the hardest thing in the world to do, Ashtawa, is pull a brother that offended you to the side, man. Is pull a sister that offended you to the side, man. But you expect Christ to forgive you. You a damn hypocrite, man. You better learn to forgive your brother and your sister, man. I pray you understand.
We want no cowards in again and again.